Hello everybody. So what we're going to look at in this screencast is how to create a Java class and how to instantiate that class to create an object, an instance of that class. And we look at that in detail in this screencast. So let's create a user class, for example. Okay, so we'll start here. Let me close this window. I'll go here, right click on the package, right click and say new. I want to create a new Java class. I'll call it user, right? So, and it's a class. You can create a class and interface and enum and annotation. So let's focus on the class. So the user, press enter, and it created a user class. And notice in Java, the name of the file matches the name of the class, right? So that's automatically taken care of through the IDE. Let's say we want to give this user some attributes, some variables, some parameters. So we'll say maybe we give him an age, say integer age, right? So that's the age of the user, and maybe a string name, right? So this is the name of the user. Now this user has no constructor. So basically, when you initialize, when you actually it actually by default has one constructor, which is the default constructor. But if we want to create a constructor to instantiate this user, all what I could do is I can type the constructor and so on, and I know the constructor name has to be the same as the class name. But to do that is straightforward. I go to code and then there is generate, or I could do the command N or control N in Windows. So I'll do generate. What do you want to generate? I want to generate a constructor. Here it is. Ask you what parameters are going to be used as initializers for the constructor, or what are the parameters of the constructor. I'll pick the age and the name and I click on OK. And basically this is what happens. It creates a constructor for me. The constructor is a method that is going to expect two variables, name and age and name, and then it sets the instance variables of this.age. So basically this is to refer to this instance of the user class, right? So basically it's an instance of the user class. It's going to set the age to whatever number age that you pass on as a parameter, and similarly the name. Okay, so basically that's how we will create a user. So we can go here, I can create a new user. To create a new user, I'll say it's of type user, right? Equal new user, right? So basically when I do that, new user, right? And it is expecting two variables, right? You see here, it's expecting two variables, a name, an age, and then a name. Okay, so let's say age is 25 and the name is Bob. Right, so that becomes the user, right? So now, can I print out that user? I'll do out tab, and I can type in the user. So now let's see what happens when I do that. So basically, I already created a user, and when I run the app, it prints out this stuff. So let's say I want to print the name of the user. Let's say name. Here's the name of the user. Run it again, and it's going to print the name of the user, right? But when you just print the user, Java doesn't know how to print a user, right? Because the user has a lot of parameters inside it. So basically, it returns the reference of that user in the system. What you could do is you can create a toString method. So basically, what you need to do is the same story. You do code generate, or I'm not going to generate code. Oh yeah, code generate and toString, right? And then it will ask you what to print out, what to include in the toString. I'll say int and name. Okay, click on OK. And basically it created a function or the method which is called toString. And basically this toString method is a method that exists. So basically all user objects. So if you go here to code, override methods, you could see that it inherits. So basically the user class inherits from the object class, and inside the object class, these are the methods inside the object class, and one of them is the toString, right? That's why it's not listed here. So if you go and delete this one, and we go back again and say code override methods, you'll see that the toString is one of them, right? So basically these are methods that belong to the parent. So basically they have their own default implementation, but for sure the default implementation doesn't know anything about there is an integer age and a string name, right? So now if we want to create the toString, all I need to do is code generate toString, and I pick the variables that I wanted to print, and I click on OK. Now if I go back here and I'm going to print the user, and I click on run, now it's going to print the user, age, and name. Okay, actually it's basically printing whatever that string is being returned here. So whenever you want to print an object, what's going to happen is, so this is a class, right? This small user, this is an object because it's an instance of that class. Now, whenever you want to print an object, it's going to call the toString method, and then the toString method, whatever it returns, is going to appear here in sout whenever you print it out. So basically, we've seen how to create a class, how to add parameters or attributes to that class, and how to create a constructor, Now let's create a method. Let's say, for example, I want to create a method. Let's say public, it returns void, and it will be increment age, okay? And this is the delta, which let's say an integer delta, right? So that's the change that you want to add or increment or decrement age. And basically I will say that this dot age equals this dot age plus the delta. So basically whatever delta you add here is going to get added to the age here. So basically that's a method. So now I can come here and I'm printing the user here, and let's say I will say user dot, and you can see here when I do user, I'm not typing that much. I say user, and it tells me that there's a variable called user dot, and it shows me the increment age. Here it is. So I just typed in, and then I will say I want to increment the age by 10, right? And then I could do s out user again, and you'll see that the user starts off as 25, so it's gonna to print out the age as 25. Then we increment the age by 10. Then we print the user again. Then it's gonna show it's 35. All right. So we run this, and you will see that first time the user is 25, and then after incrementing the age becomes 35. So we created straightforward. We created a constructor, we created a method, and we created the toString, and that is very straightforward on how this is a very basic introduction to classes and objects. Okay, so please let me know if you have any questions.